In
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How about that 4 times today? So I want to point some attention to something really quickly. Do you hear that? Silence. Our son is back to good health and he is in school today. And to quote my wife, Anthony, I love our son, but I am so happy he's back in school. In which case I said, ditto, right? And my wife is out doing errands and took our daughter with her. So I got to actually work from home, like silence. And as you can see, the lights are off because they're always off. When I'm working, I have my AirPods, which has, if you ever actually heard the music, it's like very, not techno-ish, but very, I don't know. Let's actually see if I could play it for you. And you could listen to what I listen to all day. So I have that on loop and on high volume, high as it goes, in my ears all day. And I'm completely checked out of the world and I'm just doing Rhino. And that's what I'm gonna get back to. So the reason why I'm so excited today, oh my God, Frida, you're amazing. Yeah, he's back, right? Like when I brought him into school, they're like, hey, and they call him Smarty because on Elmo, right? There's a smartphone app, right? And it's called Smarty. Hey, Smarty. So we always called him that because he loved the show. And, you know, the onus is on, I always play with him trying to learn different things. So he really is kind of smart too. So they call him that, Smarty. So they're like, hey, Smarty, you're back. And we were all so happy. So let me get to the reason why I'm super duper duper excited. So as it says in the email, yesterday was our launch for Rhino Warp Speed. And I got to tell you, on any first day of something, to have 800 visitors to the website is very, very good. Now, when I say 800 visitors to the website, that wasn't because Anthony emailed a bunch of people. In fact, of those 800, Anthony accounted for 0, which means that it really is the community at large that has found it to be so exciting to go ahead and move forward on their own wherewithal. Now, of those moving on their own wherewithal, we have those that are in RVP, Rhino Vice Presidents, and we have those that are just, excited and enthusiastic members of Rhino. RVP, I believe, accounted for, I want to say close to 450 of those, which is good. RVP is a salaried position. They get paid. But 450 of 800 means there's 350 of those that were just doing it. So when we have a paid position that's performing equally, better, right? But kind of equally as much as an unpaid position, it really goes to the excitement that is Rhino. It goes to the community at large. And I gotta say, so there are things called self-fulfilling prophecies. And what I mean by that is, sure, Anthony, you come out and you say everyone's so excited and community, community, community. Well, community is actually what's of value, right? So if we have 1 million people that, I don't know, go to abc.com, do you know what abc.com is worth? It's worth a lot. It has 1 million people that are loyal to going there. abc.com now can disseminate a message to those people. So it doesn't matter what the platform is or what the outcome is. If you're able to gather community, that is worth, that's where the value is. So of course, Rhino is not saying, okay, let's everyone go to abc.com, right? Like there are the search engine, there's the coin, there's a whole bunch of stuff, right? And really good stuff. And at least in our opinion, we invented all this. Well, our opinion is that's good stuff. The fact is we invented all this stuff. And our opinion is it's going to go to that it has a very bright future in front of it. But let's say all of that was phooey. None of that ever happened. Let's say, Anthony, you don't know what you're talking about. Your search engine is CRAP and your coin is like a complete, like, do type of program. Okay, be that as it may. That does not discount the value in the community. So when we say that the community as a whole, completely unpaid, but completely organically is producing the same results as a paid salaried position, that goes to the level of excitement. And you could say, well, Anthony, people just like you, fine. It does not matter why they're doing it. It matters that they're doing it collectively together, consenting, and they're all happy and excited to be doing it. Because if you can go ahead and take that, harness it in a jar, that passion, and be able to distribute it to others, and you just create a large passionate group, well, what is that worth? Again, the value is in the community. So you can say, all right, well, these million people got together because they all like picking their nose together. Fine. Whatever they want to do, that's fine. But the million people loyal to each other and moving in a monolith, moving together, is worth a great deal. So when we take a look at just, all right, why is the coin worth what it is? Why is the search engine going to work? These are all community formats. A search engine is users searching for businesses, users searching for something. There are people on both sides of it. You have to have a community to even go ahead and participate or populate a search engine, because if you have one person searching and only one result, well, why would anyone use it, right? Like, that's not worth anything. The same thing with our token. If you only have a couple of really rich people in it saying, okay, great, I'm so smart, I'm going to invest in this, what is it worth? Well, it's only worth something to those couple of people. Well, what about when those couple of people lose interest? Then the whole thing is worthless because it doesn't have anyone there anymore. So if you can go ahead and build a community that is passionate with each other, well, it stands fair to reason that they'll go ahead and move to a search engine together because they like being together. They're all similar together. They're passionate together. And if they all then subsequently also invest in a token that they find the value and they participate in, and they are, opted into perpetuity, of course, unless you opt out, well, what's the value of the token? Well, it's the value of them. And again, we say all this as if nothing we ever did will amount to anything. This is all just skeleton talk, right? Like, if we only had this and it did nothing, and we only had this and it did nothing, this is what it would be worth because the value is in the group. So when I cite numbers such as 800 visitors came to a web page that we just created this week and that we launched yesterday, that's a really, really strong number of the passion that's within the community. Now, of those 800 that went there, I believe 45 to 50 then opted in to becoming part of the RHINO, that they're opting into receiving the emails on a daily basis. They're opted into, just learning more. And of those 45 to 50 that opted into learning more, 3 went ahead and became part of a plan, the $1 plan. Now, as you recall, if you take a look at our growth in terms of our email, you'll see that on any given day, it's kind of plus or minus 1 or 2 members. Much more often than not, it's plus, because we started at 0 in September and we now have 345 coming into today, and now we're at 348. So of course the trend is plus, right? Like, many people are getting in. But I don't think you would recall too many times that we added 4, right? Like, because again, we never did any marketing. We never did any of that. It's always been word of mouth. So of course there are times that we get 2 or 3. If I write an email that's kind of like, motivating and persuasive, like, this is why we're doing it, get in. But even those emails, I really don't write that much anymore because, and one of our RHINOs said to me, Anthony, you really need to have emails that these emails go to those people and these emails go to those people. Talking about those that are not in RHINO, you need to write something differently to them than those that are in RHINO. And although that makes sense, so it's not it's not a detriment, or it's not incorrect on the person that said this to me, but I just don't believe in that. I will never, ever send one person one thing and one person another. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I understand why to do it, but I think the bigger value is always that no matter where you are in RHINO, whether you're someone that just joined today or whether you're someone that's one of the largest investors, you know exactly the same thing. There's just an honesty that it's like when you start dating someone and nothing's wrong, like their flagellant smells like roses and nothing can go wrong. There's this aura of that anything's possible. And then all of a sudden the boy says he wants to go to a football game with his friends and gets drunk, and the woman picks him up from jail because he was drunk and intoxicated and tried to drive. Or the girl went to a party and her friend tried to hook her up with someone else, and the guy, it doesn't matter what happens, but when that happens, then that aura of anything is possible is gone. Now it's, all right, well, I still love or like the person, but this is who I'm dealing with. In which case now that person is able to be compared to other people, right? Like, oh, I love my man or woman, but this is who they are. That person isn't that. Oh man, but I made my bed, right? And what I think about Rhino in terms of always being completely transparent to everyone, that everyone gets the same thing, I think we keep captured that aura that like anything is possible. When everyone knows that there is nothing that no one knows, regardless of whether you give us $5 million or whether unsubscribed us once and resubscribed us. That's valuable to me. It just does. So the point of all of this is when we're talking about a day one launch. Now, granted, I'm not a good marketer. And some of you would say, well, Ant, you're actually pretty good. Your coin is doing 9,000 a week in residual recurring income or purchases from 348 people, and that was 0 2 months ago. That's like almost $500,000 a year. Be that as it may, I still don't, like, I think I'm speaking sense to feelings, right? Like, I think everyone walks around with a certain feeling, an intuition where it's like something's right, something's wrong. And I think I'm able to just go ahead and say, I feel the same thing. And this is my plan, right? And if you agree with me, let's get together. If not, tell me why not, and let's see if we can improve it, right? Like, I think I'm just the mirror of society, because if everything was going really great, well, Anthony, well, maybe Rhino would be different, right? Like maybe you wouldn't be talking about large big tech companies stealing data and crushing small business. Maybe you'd be selling roses that smell like violets. Like, I don't know. So I do think I'm somewhat of a mirror of you and of society. And if I could be the most accurate mirror, well, then that's the goal, because then the most people join you, and that's the group, and rewind 5 minutes, right? Be that as it may, I've never been a marketer. So our pages were never like built for conversion. Like, you wouldn't go to rhinostreet.com and say, oh man, this really convinced me to join. Where can I join? You would say, okay, it's a search engine. Like, maybe I'll search here. You would never say, let me go join it. If you went to Rhino Retirement, there's a whole bunch of metrics, like, okay, this is what the coin's doing. This is how to look up the registration. This is how to look up the public listing. This is how to, but should I join? Well, there is a little video in the middle, but I mean, no one's telling me to do it. There is no call to action. All right, I receive emails from Anthony and Rhino, and I know I opted in at some point, but even the emails, he's not really telling me to join. It says like I should join, but it's not like, this is why you should do it right now when we're running out of time, and scarcity and reciprocity and obligation and voluntary. Like, there's not that. The lander page for Rhino Warp Speed does kind of start introducing that, right? Like, we go ahead and describe Rhino Street. How many emails am I going to get right now? We go ahead and describe Rhino Street, and we do let everyone know, which actually, by the way, I've always given everyone 100 coin just for joining in the investor balance. I never advertise it, because I just never thought, like, I'd rather surprise someone. I just always rather do the good thing and not make someone feel compelled that it's a trade-off, like it's a quid pro quo. Be that as it may. So we decided, all right, you know what? Let's go ahead and actually, since we're giving the 100, let's put that into, hey, click here and join and receive 100 coin. And then at the bottom of the page, it's click here to learn how to receive your 100 Rhino. So I think on that page, I probably should put a Rhino chart, because 100 Rhino would mean nothing to no one unless they knew what Rhino was, and they're like, it's $2.08, and you're giving me 100. That's I don't know, like $200. Like, all I have to do is opt in. Yeah, cool, do it, right? There is a level of dishonesty that I don't want to go down the road. Like, I don't want someone to feel like we're giving them $200 that second. So maybe a little copy, join and receive your 100 Rhino. It's released to you by the fall, right? And then you could look at the chart and say, well, it's going up, so that's a good thing. So there is improvements to go. But my point about being day one is you just get it out there. Now I'm receiving all the advice on improvements from people that are A, marketers, or B, are the actual people that signed up or didn't sign up, which they are the most informed marketers because they're telling you, yeah, you can do all your studies and think you know what I want, or I could just tell you what I want, right? Um, it's like guys that go to class to like learn how to pick up girls. How about you just go up to a girl and ask her like, hey, my name is Anthony. I have no expectation that you're going to like me, but if you can help me, I have difficulty with girls. What am I doing wrong? You might actually find out that by the end of the conversation, that girl's like, wow, no one's ever been so honest with me. I have the one guy that's like doesn't know anything about anything. I can mold him, and his honesty is something that I could take forever. I like him, right? Like you never know. That person, that might actually be the best pickup line I've ever thought of. Well, I'm married with 2 kids, right? So anyone out there that wants to use it, you're welcome. Um, I'm just rambling, I think, at this point. The point of the story is yesterday has, when you talk about how well it went, there's still the point that the majority of how well it went is the fact that there's so much improvement. Nothing on day one will ever look like what it'll look like on day 45. And if it does, that's your fault and you're really bad at whatever you're doing. But from day 1 to day 45, you should have 45 days worth of improvements, worth of advice, worth of things. Like we still want to build out more advanced automations in terms of email sequences. We want, like there's so much still to do. So I'm here to say that because yesterday went well, that it's a really good thing. I really don't know other words to put to it. It was very heartening. When I looked at the numbers today, I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like I was responsible for 0 of it. So that's good. The coin hit another all-time high today, $2.08 and like 1/10 of a cent, I believe. Our RHINO members, the plans hit another all-time high today of 248. And today we'll be sending everyone the email to allow everyone and to invite everyone to upgrade their plan. For anyone watching this, a lot of people say, well, not a lot of people, some people say, Ant, you send me this email every Friday. Well, actually, my wife says that because she's on a low plan and I always try to bump her up. And she'll be funny and write back like, hey, I'm unemployed, right? Like something. And she says to me, she goes, don't you ever... she says to, like, Travis, she always says to me, like, don't you think that bothers people? I go, I think it bothers people if they don't know what to expect and they feel like they have to respond. Like, for instance, when someone texts you something and you don't want to say yes, like you don't want to do it, and they know you don't want to do it, but they still text you, you now feel uncomfortable to not write back because you're not being true to your core values, which is I don't ignore people. But I also don't want to be rude. But I also am really upset that you are putting me in a position that I have to write back and be rude, and you know the answer. And that's what I think bothers people. So when I say I send out these emails every Friday, and sometimes I rotate Thursday or Friday, right? In fairness, it's never, because of its consistency, no one ever feels, oh, he's writing this directly to me and he's asking me to do something. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think people feel, all right, Anthony is stewarding this ship, and look how consistent he is, and look that he's always working. He's always moving us forward. I feel comfortable being here. I think that's, well, at least that's the takeaway I want, right? So when someone receives that email and they're like, well, I'm actually at the plan I want to be at. I don't want to be at a higher one. I don't think they look at it and say, oh, this Anthony, I can't believe he's making me feel this way. I think they look at it as, oh, he's still working. Like he's still pushing us forward. I can't wait for the opportunity to upgrade because this is who I'm working with. So that's just my commentary on that. And I will do it again today because it is Friday. And I didn't do it yesterday because I did it last Thursday, right? So that's that. Sunday is my wife and I's 1-year anniversary. So Saturday night, which is tomorrow night, we're going to Atlantic City. And before you think like that sounds great, we're going there because it's somewhere that we get to like sleep. Her mother is going to be babysitting, and we love Carmine's in Harris, I believe it is. No, Tropicana. We get the shrimp franchise and baked clams, and we get this big belly because they serve it family style. So we eat the whole thing. We have a drink, maybe two. Then we go to a comedy show, which we think is hilarious. It's the same one every time. And here's the thing. So the comedy show ends at, I think, 9. And we have a drink there too, more so me than her, because she's always been pregnant, right? So her tolerance is very low. And not that mine's high, but I'll have 2 or 3 drinks. The funny part that I'm getting at, and then I'm going to go, is then it's 9 p.m. and we look at each other every time and we're like, I know we're supposed to stay out, but you want to go back to your room and like just watch TV. There have been times that we went back to the room, opened up a laptop and watched Netflix, but it's just the fact that we don't have kids there because they're being babysat that we're like, wow, we get to sleep. So I just wanted to share that story with you because actually what I've been thinking about is I have an email to write Sunday. So I'm going to bring my computer with me and I'll write it from there. All right. Well, I love everyone and everything is going better today. Everything today has been better than yesterday, but not as good as tomorrow, right? Love you. Bye.